Waking up fully rested, drinking a premium coffee, and still feeling completely paralyzed and exhausted by 12 p.m. is not a symptom of laziness. It is not a lack of motivation, and it is certainly not a character flaw. The feeling of midday burnout is a mathematical certainty caused by a hidden background process. Every time a choice is made, no matter how small, the brain executes a computational process that consumes a measurable unit of glucose. This metabolic cost is known as the decision tax. It is the invisible energy leak responsible for draining cognitive capacity before the afternoon even begins. In the next 10 minutes, the mechanical truth behind this drain will be exposed, along with the exact architectural framework required to permanently plug the leak. The standard corporate approach to productivity demands more willpower, but willpower is not a renewable resource that can be summoned on command. It is a finite, mechanical battery. Operating under the assumption that the mind can handle an infinite number of choices is what causes the system to crash. To stop the afternoon paralysis, the biological hardware must be understood and respected. The most destructive myth in modern corporate culture is the belief that high performers possess an endless supply of discipline. The data reveals a completely different reality. High performers do not have more willpower. They have simply engineered their environments to require fewer choices. Cognitive architecture functions exactly like a smartphone battery. When the device is unplugged at 6 a.m., it holds a maximum charge of 100%. Every single decision made from that moment forward, whether it is choosing what to wear, what to eat, or how to negotiate a $1 million contract, draws from that exact same power reserve. This is the fundamental processing error most professionals make. The brain does not compartmentalise energy based on the importance of the task. The prefrontal cortex burns almost the exact same amount of metabolic fuel deciding what brand of toothpaste to buy as it does finalising a critical board presentation. By treating trivial morning choices as harmless, the system is subjected to a massive, unnecessary energy drain. When an executive stands in front of a closet for 3 minutes debating between two identical suits, they are literally spending the cognitive fuel that should have been allocated to afternoon strategy. The frustration of staring blankly at a spreadsheet at 2 p.m. is simply the hardware protecting itself. The system has reached its daily computational limit. It is not a failure of work ethic. It is a symptom of a mismanaged energy budget. Realizing that willpower is finite provides immediate operational clarity. It shifts the objective away from trying to force the brain to work harder toward the mechanical solution of protecting the battery at all costs. To reclaim this lost capacity, the hidden sources of the decision tax must be identified. The modern digital workspace is specifically designed to force the brain into a state of continuous, rapid-fire micro-decisions. Consider the act of checking an email inbox without immediately replying. Opening a message, reading it, and deciding to handle it later feels like a passive action. Biologically, it is a massive metabolic withdrawal. The brain has to process the information, weigh the potential responses, and make the active choice to delay action. This leaves an open loop in the cognitive background. The mind will continue to expend energy holding that delayed decision in temporary RAM for the rest of the day, creating invisible friction. The same tax applies to unstructured calendars. When a day has no predetermined architecture, the brain is forced to constantly decide what to do next. Should this hour be spent on marketing or finance? Should this notification be answered now or later? Each of these micro-decisions triggers a tiny release of cortisol and burns precious glucose. Over an 8-hour window, the accumulation of these seemingly harmless choices creates a crushing biological weight. This is why highly intelligent, capable professionals find themselves completely paralyzed by minor tasks in the late afternoon. The cognitive network is not broken. It is simply buried under the debris of 500 unmanaged microdecisions. Understanding this mechanism provides profound relief. The guilt of procrastination dissolves when it is recognized as a biological safeguard against decision fatigue. The path forward requires stripping the friction out of the environment entirely. When the decision tax bankrupts the cognitive battery, the brain does not simply shut down. It initiates an emergency survival protocol known as the path of least resistance. Once decision fatigue sets in, the prefrontal cortex, the logical, disciplined center of the brain, goes offline. The system hands control over to the amygdala, which prioritizes immediate comfort and zero-friction activities. This explains the universal phenomenon of the evening crash. It is the precise reason why, after a grueling day of corporate negotiations, the only mathematically possible outcome is ordering takeout and staring blankly at a screen. The brain literally cannot afford the metabolic cost of deciding what to cook or choosing to read a challenging book. It defaults to zero. It selects the option that requires absolutely no computational power. Many attempt to fight this default state using sheer force, which only accelerates the burnout cycle. The true architectural fix is not to fight the system when the battery is empty, but to prevent the battery from draining in the first place. By front-loading choices and removing the variables that cause daily friction, the system is protected. The cognitive bandwidth required for deep, meaningful output is secured safely behind a wall of automated routines. Eliminating the decision tax requires deploying a strict automation protocol across all foundational lifestyle metrics. The goal is to mathematically eliminate the first 100 decisions of the day before they even occur. The first layer of the protocol is wardrobe standardization. There is a deeply functional reason why history's most prominent tech founders and executives adopt a uniform. Removing the daily choice of attire instantly reclaims a significant percentage of morning cognitive fuel. The second layer is nutritional automation. The daily question of what to eat for breakfast and lunch is a massive metabolic drain. By standardizing the first 2 meals of the day to the exact same high-protein, low-friction input, the brain never has to calculate dietary variables during peak operational hours. The third and most vital layer is calendar rigidity. A highly optimized schedule removes the friction of deciding what task to execute. When a timeline dictates that 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. is exclusively reserved for deep analytical work, the brain is spared the exhausting process of prioritization. Automation is not about creating a boring life. It is about creating a fortified one. By outsourcing trivial decisions to rigid systems, the prefrontal cortex is kept pristine, cool, and fully charged for the high-stakes challenges that actually demand extreme intelligence. Exhaustion is not a permanent state. It is simply feedback from a misconfigured system. When the decision tax is finally understood, the massive weight of corporate guilt is lifted. There is profound comfort in knowing that cognitive capacity is completely recoverable. By ruthlessly eliminating micro-decisions, standardizing daily inputs, and respecting the biological limits of the mind, the baseline is instantly restored. True productivity is not about doing more things in a day. It is about making fewer choices. Protect the battery, eliminate the friction, and watch how effortlessly the system begins to execute.